right. Well, welcome to everybody today. This beautiful day here is a little warmer, but certainly beautiful. The light is shining bright, and so we we've seen and are seeing many things go on, and they're happening in an extremely fast pace. I don't know if you have begun to recognize, maybe you're just beginning and you're seeing little pieces, and that's wonderful. That's a place to be, is in that progression. Hopefully you're not one of those who doesn't see any changes. That may not be the place to be, although that's where you are. So anyways, we're going to take a look. We looked at the ancient text uh, over the last couple of weeks, and we're going to jump into the next book in the Nag Hammadi, which is the on the origin of the world. And some of you, you're going to see a lot of pieces that correlate, but you're also going to get a lot more information that goes with the other. I would remind you that these texts at many levels would have been the text that the Essenes and the followers of Yeshua would have been using. They would have been sharing these principles and concepts. And the more that Yeshua gets exposed for what he was and who he was, the more that these things really take on, for me anyways, maybe not for you. I can't speak for what you are, but uh, it just takes on that much more of a depth. It's really been igniting the Bible, but not in a way that Bible believers get ignited, if you would. I'm excited to see the revelation, the change in perspective that is happening by the new understandings that are coming to light. And as I said, in many situations, they're happening in all kinds of different places all over the earth, and so that can be a sign to us that all of the prophecies, all of the things that have been talking about this split in humanity, you can see that everywhere. There seems to be almost two races of people living on this earth at the same time, and actually there's quite a bit more than that, but two that we see, because we're still trying to figure out what reality even is, and for many people that's may or may not be a journey you've even begun yet. So we'll be looking at on the origin of the world, and it's quite crazy. Understand, many of these things are mystical, metaphorical teachings. Uh, and some of the, if you've been doing any study on your own, some of these things you might be able to pick up on, and some of them are much more placed under other things. And so anyways, we come together today with you, and we say to you, namaste. Humility is an amazing part of all of this journey of who the true us is, and uh, there'll be a lot to say about that aspect of everything. And so, on the origin of the world, the prologue. In the beginning, we know where that was taken from. We know what it must be applied to. And so the prologue reads, since everyone, both the gods of the world and the people, says that nothing existed before chaos, okay, I shall prove they are all wrong, okay? So we understand the time of chaos in the world was without and void. And we've always been programmed. Scholars, maybe not so much. People who actually study and use their minds constantly about the world, Uh, Probably not so much, but certainly, if you would, the masses have just settled with that creation was like this, and they really don't give it any other thought. Most people will go through their lives 60, 70, 80 years and never even ask, is that the truth? And uh, so he starts his dialogue. I would have you, because there's a lot of places, it's really becoming quite clear to me, both here in the Nag Hammadi, but in all the thousands of other resources that I'm utilizing. It's becoming massively clear that many of the things that we were told are horrible, we were told that lie because if we ever found the truth, then they could not control us anymore. And unfortunately, people will listen to my mouth go like this, and it still have no effect on them. And I'm sorrowful for that, but there's really nothing that can really be done about that. And so, both the gods of the world, I'd like for you to see that S on there is not accidental. The gods of this world. Wow. Many, many pieces about the gods and the quantities of gods and humans as gods have begun coming to the front. And so when I say that your reality may not have shifted very much, or your reality may be in a totally different sphere. And so both the gods of the world and the people says that nothing existed before chaos. And I shall prove that they are all wrong, because they do not know the origin of chaos or its root. And so there's really a lot that could get in there, and you could really churn a lot of things up. I find a lot of times it seems to me to becoming more and more difficult to explain myself, because there's so much to every individual thing, and if you don't apply yourself, then you can't understand, and so you walk away more confused. I think I'm now beginning to see the way that Yeshua probably felt most of the time. It's very disheartening to talk to someone and see no recognition of the reality, and in some cases it's the immensity, how huge things are, and yet we've been told and trained little by little that we're supposed to spend all of our time then trying to make someone who doesn't care, and you just can't do it. And so you end up wasting your sacredness of your frequency. And I'm going to talk a lot. This is really becoming very, very, very critical, because way past where I could talk with any of you for quite a while, everything is frequency, and frequency is everything. And your frequency, if you come to know the truth, you will come to know that your frequency is the most sacred thing that you possess. And so it brings in all kinds of pieces, which I hope I can share to some's benefit. And so you'll find that strand runs through every bit of the rest of everything that I share with you. There is always an underlying principle about frequency. Everything is frequency. And so I shall prove that they are all wrong, because they do not know the origin of chaos or its root. Here is the proof. Although certainly people in general are inclined to say that chaos is darkness, okay? And that may be in fact, that's what they programmed you to in the book of Genesis. And darkness was within the earth. Okay? That's where it comes from. In actuality, chaos comes from a shadow. And it is the shadow that has been called darkness. Well, since we're talking metaphysics, there is a thing that is taught called shadow work. And it's quite funny until you know what I just shared with you experientially inside of you, you may not really even have a clue about what shadow work actually is. It's vitally important. It's affecting and will affect every phase and aspect of your life, and yet we know nothing about it. That your subconscious is your shadow. You are running on a program of subconscious. You do all kinds of things with no thought, no knowledge. You walk like a zombie from your subconscious. In fact, I think the number is somewhere around only 2 to 5% of the thoughts and decisions you make come through your actual consciousness. The rest are totally from your subconscious. So, I don't know, maybe to you that's not important. But to me, it's really important. And so, in actuality, comes from a shadow, and it is this shadow that has been called darkness. So then if you really get what's being said there, you will recognize that the shadow inside of you is what has been called the darkness that you are. The shadow comes from something that has existed from the beginning. This is not a new principle. It's not a new concept. Bereshit there would have been the same word for Genesis. And so it is obvious that something in the beginning existed before chaos came into being. And this is a very critical point that the author it's very important. He feels as if he has to get this across to any human who is capable of is allowing enlightenment and cares enough to pay attention. And so, chaos, the shadow comes from something that existed from the beginning. So it is obvious that something in the beginning existed before chaos came into being, and chaos came after what was in the beginning. Let us consider the facts of the matter, and particularly what was in the beginning, from which chaos came. In this way will the truth be clearly demonstrated. After the world of the immortals was brought to the completion out of infinite, a being with this likeness called Sophia flowed from Pistis. Sophia is also defined as wisdom. And this being expressed its wishes that it come to resemble the first light. And at once, its wish appeared as a heavenly likeness with an incomprehensible greatness. Now, for some of you, those may really just be a lot of garbled words, but I am finding to minds that are beginning to change frequency, I could spend 2 hours on that one verse and bore the heck out of all of you, and you may never see the immensity that exists inside of that one simple statement. It's huge. See, here's the thing that is becoming very, very, very prominent to me. And that thing is that we maybe haven't even really begun to grasp a hold of the reality of who we are and what we are, or how much bondage we are. And that's really huge, because if you're in bondage and you think that you're free, you will stay in bondage because you have no need to get out of it. And that's where, unfortunately, the masses of people exist. And so I would have you notice that in the beginning there are already immortals. This might shock you as we get a little further here, because all of this has a purpose, and it's actually quite beautiful when you begin to understand some things. And what came after them, like what is above, and Sophia served as a veil separating humanity from the things above. So when you hear Cryon, and when you hear Seth, and when you hear Beshar, and when you hear these others that are channeling talk about the veil, it's really funny that they seldom explain to people that the veil that separates us from the other side is the veil called wisdom. So, Sophia served as a veil separating humanity from the things above. I assure you, the mass majority of people that are channeling have never read the Nag Hammadi. That's why I set out with a purpose to share this with people, and whatever it does for them, it does for them. Many will tell you that you finally arrived when you quit studying. You finally arrived when you don't need to listen to channelers. And that quite perplexes me, because the most elevated and in antiquity people were people who were initiated and lived their life in a school of ascended masters. So that is to say, through their whole life, they were taught spirituality, and here we have some people that can't do anything but manifest to people that I can bilch you for your money if I tell you a story that makes you feel good, while they tell you stay blind. You take it for what you want to. The problem is that true spirit is truth, and it never changes. And so she was what separated. And so if you would just get that simple little statement in your mind, why would wisdom separate me from that which is above? Well, if you understand what wisdom is, it's obvious there's a reason. And so the aeon of truth has no shadow within. So when you hear me say words, you don't have the knowledge, but when you hear me say words, that truth is always truth and truth is always light, that's not a new statement. That is hundreds of thousands of years old, a truth he gave to me before I ever read any of this. My words seldom come out of things. I already have those words, and then he proves them to me. That's my journey. I don't know what yours is. And so the aeon of truth has no shadow within it. There is no darkness in truth, friends. Whether you like it, and so now you would have another sect of teachers that would tell you, if it makes you feel guilty, if it makes you feel bad, if you don't feel wonderful, that it can't be truth. I've heard them say these things, and they're absurd, and the mindless follow them just like they follow Christian preachers. Mindlessness is rampant. It's everywhere. There is a shadow, however, outside of the truth. Did you get that? That's a huge point. There is no darkness in truth. Actually, I could show you that statement. It is a mystical statement made that's in the Bible. All of the things I will say today, I can prove to you in the Bible. The Bible was a metaphysical document that was overwritten by Christian scholars to lie to you, and we all were caught in the lie. So there is a shadow. Now, there is no shadow in truth, but there is a shadow that's outside of truth. When I say the things like I've said, it's not absurd. It's actually quite honest. to tell you such things. There is a shadow, however, outside of it, and the shadow has been called darkness. Once again, we talk about it all the time, about people's bad spirits, about people's darkness that's inside of them. And it's exactly what psychologists tell us that we have to come to terms with. As long as you hide it, as long as you push it down, as long as you continue to lie to yourself, you can stay in darkness. But the minute that you begin to deal with it, it can't remain. Although I've said that thousands of times. So there is a shadow that is outside of truth. Understand, truth is the theme. Everything that has to do with those people who will ascend, find who they are, walk in supreme power on this earth, which is all coming. There will be literally tens and hundreds of thousands of us that will walk in truth. I believe that with no questions. However, outside of it, and the shadow has been called darkness. From the shadow appeared a power set over the darkness, and the powers that came afterwards called the shadow limitless chaos. You want to know why there is so much chaos in our world? He just told you why. From it, every sort of deity emerged. And while there are many gods that you know nothing about, there's really not as many gods that are relevant to us as we might think. And every sort of deity emerged one after another, along with the whole world. So, the shadow came after something that existed in the beginning. And then it became visible. The abyss also came from Pistis, whom we have mentioned. So the shadow sensed that there was one stronger than it. Just in case you know, this is a metaphoric teaching. They're speaking about you. The shadow sensed that there was one that was stronger than it. It was jealous, and when it became pregnant by itself, androgynous, all of a sudden it gave birth to envy. Since then, the principle of envy has appeared in all of the aeons and their worlds. Plural. There are many worlds. There are many worlds functioning right now. But envy turned out to be an aborted fetus without any spirit in it. So basically, we find the patriarchs, the 12 sons, we find them give us the first, at least from the people that have been with me, that was your first explanation of envy. And it's actually quite ancient, but nowhere near as ancient as this. That was a revelation that they had from the spirit realm. That wherever envy exists, no matter what the person that is being envied can never do good. If you really would like to use this stuff practically, which I'm a very pragmatic person, I use the things I learn every day. What we call Trump derangement syndrome, friends, is nothing but envy. Why can Donald Trump never do anything good? Because they are envious of the good that he is doing. Now we have Democrats who are not part of that, and all of a sudden, here and there, you begin to hear a peep in the mutter from some person in politics that's a Democrat that says, hey, look, What Donald Trump is doing on the earth is positive. I don't care who Donald Trump is. And what happens with the rest of them. This is, whether you know it or not, this is the picture of the splitting of the earth. It's already happening. It's actually been happening for quite some time. It's now beginning to manifest. And so every sort of deity emerged one after another along with the whole world. So there were all of these deities that were manifesting themselves while the world was being manifest. So the shadow came after something that existed in the beginning, and then it became visible. The abyss also came from Pistis, whom we have mentioned. The shadow sensed that there was one stronger than it. It was jealous, and when it became pregnant by itself, all of a sudden it gave birth to envy. Since then, the principle of envy has appeared in all the aeons and their worlds. But envy turned out to be an aborted fetus without any spirit in it, and it came into being as a shadow in an expanse of watery substance. Bitter wrath came into being from the shadow and was cast into a region of chaos. Now, I hope that you will be able in your mind to make some little connection that it's like a switch gear. A switch gear goes here and here and here and here and here and here. And that's exactly how you will learn. If you cannot switch between multiple things at the same time, you're really going to get confused. And chaos is working in you. What I would like for you to see, while this may be the most literal picture we have of how everything that is became is, we should also be able to see that in ourselves. Envy brings chaos into your life. It is not the person that you are envious of. It is you that it become into chaos. If you look around, we call it drama. Drama is the essence of chaos. People who need drama need chaos. These words are meant to give you a metaphoric picture of what you are, or at least what you could be if you do nothing to fight it. And so since the day the watery substance has been visible, what lurked in the shadow flowed out and appeared in chaos. Just as all the afterbirth of a woman who gives birth to a baby flows out. That's why you hear people in the spirit realm say, you must flow, that this doesn't happen. It wasn't a one-time gush. It wasn't a delusion. It wasn't a thing that was so overwhelming. This stuff leaked out into our world, and that's exactly the way that we retake the ground, is it leaks into us. That's called flow. And so also the matter that came into being from the shadow was cast out. Matter did not come out of chaos. It was in chaos, in a region of chaos. And so the appearance of Yaldabaoth, some of you remember, Yaldabaoth is the god that created the earth. After these things happened, Pistis came and appeared over chaotic matter, which has been expelled like an aborted fetus, without any spirit in it. So this stuff that was expelled, that's called chaos, it has no spirit. For chaos is all limitless darkness and unfathomable water. When Pistis saw what came into being from her deficiency, she was disturbed. And her disturbance appeared as something frightful, and it fled to her in the chaos. She turned to it, blew into its face in the abyss below all of the heavens. When Pistis Sophia wanted to cause this thing with no spirit to be made into a likeness of the divine and to rule over matter and all of its powers, For the first time, an archon appeared. So you now begin to get picture of these things that there have been celestial interactions since the beginning. And so, for the first time, the archon appeared out of the waters, lion-like in appearance, androgynous. Androgynous speaks of actually where we're returning to. And the more that I read and the more I study the understanding and the principles, I believe that all of this sex stuff that has to do with gender is all just a picture of the manifestation of androgyny. We were only and we will only be a whole and complete person when we once again are both male and female. You cannot be whole with one or the other. Women desire to be men and to be stronger than men because they know inside of them instinctively that they have not that. Men are turning more and more and more effeminate, and the reason they're doing that is because the veil is thinning, we are getting closer, men are starting to recognize that there is more than them. So it's not condoning, it's not a moral issue. In fact, I want to say this just so I say it, and if somebody gets mad at me, I'm glad you did. Thank you, I needed that. But all of this stuff is being brought out to expose to us the lack that we possess. I'll say that and leave it. When Pistis saw what came into being from her deficiency, she was disturbed, and her disturbance appeared as something frightful, and it fled to her in the chaos. She turned to it and blew into its face. That's the first allusion to breath going into the face. Y'all know one of the others, but we get to see this brought back out again. In the abyss below all of the heavens. Where might you think that is? When Pistis Sophia wanted to cause this thing with no spirit to be made into a likeness of the divine and rule over matter and all of its powers, for the first time an archon appeared out of the waters, lion-like in appearance, androgynous, with great authority in himself, but ignorant of where he came from. That's really there's a really profoundness to that, ignorant of where he came from, that we'll look at, and I think some of you will see it as we go along on your own. When Pistis Sophia saw him moving in the depths of the water, she said to him, "Young man, move over here," which is the meaning of Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth means, young man, move over here. And since then, the faculty of speech has come to expression, and the faculty of speech pertains to the gods, angel, and people. Have brought to completion what has come into being by means of the word. So we have this concept. It is the exact same creative process that we must use. As we go along, I hope some of you will understand the revelation. The first thing that you must see, this ties to manifestation in Jesus. The first thing that you must do, contrary to your belief, is the first thing you must do is feel. And with no feeling, you will never create anything. That's a really huge concept. So, because many people have many feelings that are creating exactly. They have no knowledge that they are creating it or where it comes from. And so the ruler Yaldabaoth is ignorant of the power of Pistis. He did not see her face, but in the water he saw the likeness that spoke to him, and from that voice he called himself Yaldabaoth. Those who are perfect call him Ariel, because he is like a lion. Do you know where the term Aryan comes from? It's tied to the lion of the tribe of Judah, who is Yaldabaoth. After Yaldabaoth assumed authority over matter, which is, I'll just say this because you might not understand it, but the words have value. Science right now, in this quantum time in which we live, are starting to find out that matter is nothing. We've been listening to these horrible, that's what Helena Blavatsky on Wednesdays is fighting against, because she knows what the truth is, and so few do. And she's trying to get us to get our minds on the fact that you can't continue to live as a human and ever be successful in the spirit realm. And you can't. And so he didn't understand. He heard her spoke, young man, come over here. And he named himself Yaldabaoth. Those who are perfect call him Ariel, because he is like a lion. After Yaldabaoth assumed authority over matter, Pistis Sophia withdrew up to her light. So she went above. Yaldabaoth creates heaven and earth and produces sons. When the ruler saw his greatness, he saw only himself and nothing else except water and darkness. Well, I won't tell you who that's a metaphoric picture of. He thought that only he existed. His thought was completed by means of the word, and it appeared as a spirit moving to and fro over the waters. Thus is why you hear in the book of Genesis, see friends, this is all explaining what you have no knowledge of. That is not a positive statement in the book of Genesis when it says, and the Spirit of God moved over the earth. That is the spirit of Yaldabaoth, who is a blind, moronic God. Perception, did I say that? Let's see. And so, his thought was completed by means of the word. We feel that. I have a lot to say about that. And it appeared as a spirit moving to and fro over the waters. When the spirit appeared, the ruler separated the watery substance to one region and the dry substance to the other region, called water and earth. From matter, the ruler created for himself a dwelling place and called it heaven. So, are you really sure that you want to pray to Jesus and go to heaven? Just so you know, Yeshua knew all of this stuff. It was not new to him. He never one time says a negative word whatsoever about the metaphysical realm. He only talks about the human realm. Well, in this concept. And so look at this. If that's not bad enough, he created for himself a dwelling place and called it heaven, and from matter he created a footstool and called it earth. Remember, it was your God that made the earth the footstool. And after this, the ruler had a thought in accordance with his nature. Be very careful, because this is speaking of you. And he created an androgynous being by means of the word. So we know that there is a process to creation. Whether you recognize it or understand it, I'll say the words because they're powerful. We were created to create. We were never not creators. We only chose not to fulfill our roles. He opened his mouth and he cooed to him. The child opened his eyes and saw his father, and he said to him, "E." So his father called him Yao. The ruler created a second son, and he cooed to him, and the child opened his eyes and said to his father, "Eh." So his father called him Eloah. You hear that all over, don't you? Yeah. See, there's a reason why I told you guys that we must get past Christianity. The ruler created a third son and cooed to him. The child opened his eyes and said to his father, "As." So his father called him Astaphaeus. These are the three sons of their father. The seven heavens of chaos. Seven androgynous beings appeared in chaos, seven male and female, equally male and female. You see a lot of androgynous. Why did these people so much need to drive the point home that you are not male or female? Why is that important? And seven androgynous beings appeared in chaos, and they have masculine names and feminine names. Yaldabaoth's feminine name is Forethought. Sam Bathas, which designates the weak. His son is called Yao, and his feminine name is Mastery. Sabaoth's feminine name is Divinity. Adonios' feminine name is Kingship. I do believe there is probably a correlation as to why the Jews call their God. Why is Adonios a morphed version of Adonis? That is kingship. Eloahos' feminine name is Envy. You see that in his behavior, right? I am the Lord your God, and there is none other, and I am a what? I am a jealous God. Now you know why. Eloah is an envious God. Oreos' feminine name is Wealth. You don't know about Oreos yet, but you will. She is yet again another daughter. Astaphaeus' feminine name is Sophia. These are the seven powers of the seven heavens of chaos. So if it is the seven heavens of chaos, we've heard all our lives about the seven heavens. We hear Paul talking about it. Maybe we really don't understand anything Paul was saying to us. And so these are the seven powers of the seven heavens of chaos. The powers were androgynous in accordance with the immortal pattern. And so did you see it right there? The immortal, the eternal pattern is always male and female. That is why Yeshua told you there will be no gender outside of the human physical body. When you leave this human physical body to prepare for your next incarnation, you are neither male nor female. You simply are. And that is the immortal pattern. That's what Yeshua was referring to. None of us know it. We're dumber than a box of rocks because we've been lied to our whole lives. But the truth is here. That existed before them and the will of Pistis. So even before the will of Pistis, it was always the thought of the Creator, the source of all. It was always his thought for beings to be both male and female. So that the likeness of what was from the beginning might have power to the end. So there was a purpose in it. You will find the function of the masculine names and powers in the archangelic book of Moses the prophet. This I haven't found. If I can ever find this, I assure you it will be on the top of the list. Moses was not who we've been told he was. He was a super spaceman, metaphysical intellect who could bend reality simply with a thought. There have been others in our lifetime that have functioned in this realm, and it is given that we all can, but not all will. The feminine names are in the first book of Noriah. Since the chief creator Yaldabaoth had great authorities at his disposal, he created beautiful heavens by means of the word as dwelling places for each of his sons. And in each heaven he created great glories, 7 times glorious. Each son has within his heavens, listen at this, thrones. Each son has thrones. Each son has mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. Listen, each one has temples. And each one has chariots that come down and pick prophets up off the ground, seers, channelers, mystics, and virgin spirits and their glories, extending up to an invisible realm, as well as armies of divine, lordly, angelic, and archangelic powers, myriads without number. Can I tell you something that you may not yet have figured out? Everything that you read in the Bible has nothing to do with the source. In fact, source is never even mentioned in the Bible. This is all those that are in the lower realm, is all of the wisdom that you get in the Bible. All of these things, I've read all of these things exist in the Bible. If you don't know what it says, you don't have a clue. Myriads without number so that they might serve. That's why Yeshua said, what did Yeshua say? Yeshua said, I did not come to be served, I came to serve. So there is a function. When Edgar Casey prophesies and says, for those people who desire to ascend up above the upper realm and move past their humanity, those people will be servants. That's why everyone who's waiting for somebody else to do all the work for them, it's proof of who they are. They're not serving, they're asking to be served. You never fulfill your purpose. You'll never fix your karma until you get that revelation. You will find a precise account of this in the first discourse of Oriah, and I do believe that's in here, so we may get a blessed chance to see that. Everything was completed in this way up to the 6th heaven, the heaven of Sophia. This heaven and earth were disrupted by the troublemaker who was beneath them all. The 6th heaven shook, for the powers of chaos did not know who had disturbed the heaven beneath them. When Pistis found out about the harm caused by the troublemaker, she blew her breath and she bound him and cast him down to Tartarus. So let's see, before humans ever existed, the casting down to the pit you find in the book of Revelation already was. Is anybody getting the picture that John's not talking about the end of time, he's talking about something else? Oh, just so you know, John was metaphysical. He was a mystic. He was a seer. He was a channeler. He would be on YouTube next to Bashar channeling if he existed today, saying strange things that no one can understand. And so Yaldabaoth boasts that he is God. After the heavens and their powers and their entire government was established, the chief creator exalted himself. So, there again, you have it in a simple phrase. The chief creator of all that exists below the heavens is Yaldabaoth. And he was glorified by the whole army of angels. Sounds very similar, huh, to the narrative you grew up believing. All the gods and their angels praised and glorified him. He was delighted. He boasted over and over again and said to them, I don't need anything. He said, I am God, and there is no other but me. When he said this, he sinned against all of the immortals, all of those existent ones who will always exist. That's really the better connotation of immortals, is an all-existent one who will always exist. So if you have that little piece of understanding, then when we are told that we are immortal, we are the all-existent ones that have always existed and who will always exist. That's the whole concept. And so, when he said this, he sinned against all of the immortals who spoke forth, and they watched him carefully. When Pistis saw the impiety of the supreme ruler, she became angry. Without being seen, she said, You are wrong, Samael, which means blind God. An enlightened, immortal human exists before you. Does anybody get that? Do you see what I just read? Before everything was created, there was already an enlightened human that existed. Human. He came to this earth to tell us the picture. We called him Yeshua. So there was an enlightened, and that really goes with it, because I'm going to say something else to you. If you are searching for enlightenment, you will never find it. You can never find it. You can only recognize that you are it. An immortal human exists before you and will appear within the forms you have shaped. So what was the prophetic statement? Was that at some point, this immortal human, who's spoken of in other documents as the perfect human, this immortal human is one day, but listen, he is an immortal human, not a god. And one day, he's going to inhabit what you created. And will appear within the forms you have shaped. The human will trample upon you as potter's clay is trampled, and you will descend with those who are yours to your mother, the abyss. And when your work comes to an end, just so you know, they're not immortal. And all the deficiency that appeared from truth will be dissolved. I believe this is the dissolving now. All of the deficits that we have from what truth is are being slowly washed away. And it will cease to be. And it will be like what never was. After Pistis said this, She revealed the likeness of her greatness in the waters, and then she withdrew up to her light. Sabaoth praises Pistis, where son turns against father. When Sabaoth, the son of Yaldabaoth, heard the voice of Pistis, he sang songs of praise to her. So guys, listen to this. The beauty of that picture is you're going to hear and learn things, and people are going to get mad at you, and people are going to leave you, and people are going to hate you. It is if you want to know how to react, you were just given how to react. And he sang songs of praise to her, but he condemned his father and mother on account of the word of Pistis. He glorified her because she told them about the immortal human, and listen at this, and the light of human. Who better to come and tell us that we are the light than the one that is the light? The light of a human. Stop for just a minute and grab the hugeness. If you have been struggling and hassling and trifling with yourself or me in the psychic realm because you think what I'm saying isn't true, you have no knowledge. So how, first off, could you ever possibly make a reasonable decision, which you couldn't, to deny that something either is or isn't? And yet I continue to bring truth and place it in front of you. It's not if we are light. We are light. The if is on you. And so, Pistis Sophia pointed her finger. Okay, he condemned his father and mother on account of the word of Pistis. He glorified her because she told them about the immortal human and the light of the human. That's so beautiful. Pistis Sophia pointed her finger and poured over him light from her light as condemnation of his father. When Sabaoth was enlightened, he received great authority over all the powers of chaos, and since then he has been called Lord of the Power. Now can I tell you why the deception and hiding from us who we are, why that has such great import? Because of what you just read. When you learn truly to die to your human and become alive to your light, there is no power on this earth that can defeat you. When you look at gravity and you decide in your mind that you want something to move that gravity has a hold of, I tell you today, it will move. You may not see it, but what I'm actually doing in a roundabout way is teaching you Yeshua's teachings on prayer. Because every word that I just said to you is a paraphrase of what he taught multiple times. I tell you today, if you don't feel the healing before you pray, don't waste your time. If you don't feel the wealth before you pray, don't waste your time. You'll never see it. Might seem far-fetched for some of you, but it's not at all. It works. And there are millions of records of this. I know why I could never make sense of Christianity and the Bible together. So, he glorified her because she told him about this immortal human and the light from her light, and the light of the human. I only read that because it really turns me on when I read that. I get giddy and dance, and I have things, my body's been buzzing for 4 days now. So, when Sabaoth was enlightened, he received great authority. Did you get it? When you accept and move in to what is already we are, there's some things that come with it. And since then, he has been called Lord of the Powers. I've heard that said by Christians who really didn't know what to say. They just talked about the power. Paul talks about the power. What is the power? The power is your consciousness of who you are, the God in you. And he hated his father, who is darkness. Proper response. We should all hate. Listen, there is no morality in any teachings that has anything to do with our light, but morality will always be a side effect. Immoral people are dense, low vibration, unenlightened humans, no matter who they are. If you're struggling with that, you should dare to look at yourself. And you could possibly see the same. And so he hated his father, who is darkness, and his mother, who is the abyss. He loathed his sister, who is the thought of the chief creator, and who moves to and fro over the waters. All of the authorities of chaos are jealous of Sabaoth. So for those of you that have been with me and you've heard and I've shared with you about the spirit world hated humans, everything I've read to you today tells you why humans above everything are hated by the spirit realm. We possess what they do not. We possess the light. Do you not know you are the light of the world? Do you not know the kingdom of God is in you? If you keep praying to some unknown God, you probably are praying to Yaldabaoth or some other foreign deity. Because the true God lives in you. In fact, he is you. And so all of the authorities of chaos were jealous of Sabaoth because of his light. They were upset and they waged war in the seven heavens. When Pistis Sophia saw the war, she sent 7 archangels to Sabaoth from her light. The archangels carried him up to the 7th heaven and stood in his presence as his attendants. Then she sent 3 more archangels to him and established his kingdom above everyone, so that he might dwell among the 12 gods of chaos. When Sabaoth occupied the place of rest because of his repentance, Pistis also gave him her daughter Zoe with great authority, so that she might tell him about everything in the 8th heaven. And since he had authority, he first made himself a mansion. It is immense, magnificent, 7 times as great as all of the mansions that exist in the 7 heavens. So there is no lack of substance. It's so funny that you quit seeking for the things. Some of you, maybe if you've listened at all to Cryon, you hear him start his channels with "I am Cryon of magnetic service." All of our lives we've spent praying to an unknown God to give us wealth and money and privilege and whatever else it was that we wanted. And it's so funny because that is so human. That is not how you get anything in the spirit realm, which is why most people have never seen a miracle. so funny to me. After I started this, I really thought that it was going to do away with the Bible. And I see more of the Bible today than I ever have. Just funny how the source will do that to you. When you think you know anything, you know nothing as you ought to know it. And so, I love that when Shabbat occupied the place of rest because of his repentance. Dear ones, that hasn't gone away. The place of rest comes because of repentance. If you have to have some Christian tell you how to do that, you don't know how to do it. True repentance comes out of the inside of you. It has nothing to do with the words that you say. It's the feeling. I'm genuinely and honestly sorrowful for my wrong behavior. I didn't need somebody to tell me because I am conscious. Instead, what you learn to do is to be unconscious because you've been told your life that if you lie and nobody finds out, you're okay. If you steal and nobody finds out, you didn't steal. And that would be okay if the world was what they say it is, but it's not. That's why the Akashic Record holds those things. I'm telling you, it's going to be huge. So, he made himself a massive 7 times mansion. And in front of his mansion, he created a large throne on a chariot with 4 faces called cherubim. And so I just want to throw this in there. All the pictures that you see of the channeler, Ezekiel, all of the pictures that are painted to you of the channeler, Enoch, all of the pictures that are painted to you of the channeler, John, all of those pictures are pictures that they saw in their minds. So look at this. You have wheels inside of wheels with eyes and faces and, oh my. You mean all of those were brought through from the other side? Through a person's mind? Maybe there is something to all this channeling stuff from the other realm. And so, in front of his mansion, he created a large throne on a chariot with 4 faces like cherubims. The cherubim throne has 8 figures on each side of the 4 corners, figures of lions and bulls and humans and eagles, and there are a total of 64 figures. 7 archangels stand before the throne. Sabaoth is the 8th, and he has authority, and so there are 72 figures in all. From this chariot, the 72 gods took shape so that they might rule over the language of the 72 nations. Beside that throne, he created other serpent-like angels called seraphim who glorify him unceasingly. Just so you know, here in a very while, I think it's within a month, we come into a time of the serpent again. It's going to be a very powerful time. And so that might be worthy of you wasting some of your time to find out about. And so, let me see if I can do this before we get much later. So, Sabaoth creates a congregation of angels, Israel, and Jesus. Then he created a congregation of angels, thousands, myriads without number, which was like the congregation in the 8th heaven. He also created a firstborn called Israel. That is, the person who sees God. We know that that's why Yaakov was called Israel, because he said, I've seen God. He watched him go back and forth on the stairway to heaven, where there are different paths you can go by, but in the long run, yeah. That's why they had to tell you what Robert Plant and them were doing was never demon worship. It's deeper metaphysical truth. And they want you to not see it. Because if you see it, you can change everything. And so that is Israel, the person who sees God. So really, if you now move into the spirit realm, friends, the ones who see God, and I'm not going to explain that now anyways, but the ones who see God are the true Israel. Did you notice he had a whole family with him? He had hundreds and hundreds of people, and they called nobody Israel but who? The one who saw God. True Israelites have nothing to do with your blood. True Israelites have to do with your vision. And that is the person who sees God. And he created another being called Jesus Christ, who is like the Savior above in the eighth heaven, and who sits at the right hand of Sabaoth on a remarkable throne. At his left, the Virgin of the Holy Spirit sits upon a throne and glorifies him. 7 virgins stand before her with their 30 harps and lyres and trumpets in their hands, and they glorify him. All of the armies of angels glorify and praise him. Sabaoth sits on a throne covered by a great light cloud. No one was with him in the cloud except Sophia, daughter of Pistis, and she taught him about all of the things in the eighth heaven, so that what resembles these things might be created, and his reign might last until the end of the heavens of chaos and their powers. Pistis Sophia moved him away from darkness and summoned him to her right, and she put the chief creator at her left. Since then, right has been called justice, and left has been called injustice. Does anybody see it? It's working right now in your politics, friends. It can be nothing but. They can be nothing but unjust. Do you think any of those people have a clue about what I just showed you? It's crazy, man. This stuff is eternal. It never goes away. The truth always comes. It always comes. It always comes, time after time, thousands of years after thousands of years, and yet the truth then manifests again. So, Pistis Sophia moved him away from the darkness and summoned him to her right, and she put the chief creator at her left. Since then, right has been called justice, and left has been called injustice. They all received a realm in the congregation of justice, and injustice was set over all their creations. Craziness. It's all right here, guys. It's all real. It's all right in front of us. We have no clue. You'll be blown away. If you truly are on the journey, you'll be blown away at what the truth really is. Well, I hope I haven't bored you today. I hope you've learned something. That I don't just want you to have head knowledge. None of this is useful if it's just in your head. All of this is only for one purpose, which is to expose to you that there is more that you must go find. And if you don't find it, it won't be found. And so we're going to take a few minutes this afternoon and take a break and get a fresh cup of coffee. And then we're going to come back and hopefully bless you with some good songs. And then I have just a little bit to share with you, kind of that ties with this. It's a piece of our journey, a piece of our learning. It's really funny. The first message I ever preached, the first church I ever applied to, I told the congregation I was Johnny the Appleseed, and I was going to bring truth to them, and I was going to seed them with it, and they ran me off. I'm so glad the universe guides those whose hearts are true. We'll be back in just a minute. wonderful blessing it is today. So much wonderful truth all around us, and get an opportunity to explore what millions and millions and millions and millions of people have desired over the course of humanity. And it's really a special time. I remember standing in the sanctuary 30 plus years ago, saying, you really have no clue what an amazing time we live in, and of course, neither did I. But as is always the case with Source, he's always about doing what he's doing. Mindfulness is everything. And so the first song we're going to do is a song, the name of it is Mind is Forgotten. And we really do have to put those. It's a very conscious effort. There's nothing subconscious about it. You will never be subconsciously mindful. It is an act of your will. And so that's the song we're going to bless you with. It really is. It really is quite amazing how all of these things, none of these things have we necessarily intentionally set out to do. So I don't think in most cases that it really is an intention issue. I think really it is absolutely just a deception issue. And the beauty is about deception. When deception is exposed, then you no longer have to be deceived. You know, America's kind of going through that. So what we individually are going through, and I don't know how many of you know about the prophecy about America. Man, this country was spoken of as being really the great light. That was the purpose of this country and us being formed here, was to be the light. I was taught my whole life that the beginners of the country were all Freemasons, and so this country was founded on devil worship. And I find out now that they were more enlightened than Christianity ever thought about being, and they actually came here with the purpose of bringing enlightenment to the world. And that just totally shocked me, because it defies everything that I've been taught my whole life. It's kind of hard. Maybe some of you have experienced that. Anybody besides me experienced that it's hard to let go of what you've known as the truth? I think that's one of the most honorable things that we will inevitably, those that do that, it's one of the most honorable things that we can do, to be able to learn how to sense and discern what is not true from what is true. Many people will walk by the truth and discern it as being not truth. And so, how amazing it is. The name of the next song is how this has all been perpetrated and how it's continued. And the song is called No More Stranded. tied up in things that aren't true, that bring you unhappiness, pain, and strife, and all kinds of things. So but it is, alas, it is a choice that we get to make, that we get to choose from this day forward. Obviously, we could make no choice when we had no knowledge, but Source is being very kind and very lavishly applying his truth, and not just to us. This isn't just something, but it is going on at the same time all over, really, the world. Certainly it's going on all over America, but it's really much bigger than just America. But we were meant to be the leaders of the movement. And I think at many levels we are still, even if there's still chaos out there that is our enemy and is fighting against us. We are still the awakening, the enlightenment, however you want to term it. Really, it is the remembering of who we are. And so I guess at some levels that kind of addresses all of it. The remembering of who I already am. And so because we see that that's going on, and some of you have told me that you are experiencing almost to the point of even some kind of weird things, some super changes that are going on inside of your mind, and it's been very clearly stated that what's happening in reality is that perspectives are changing, and so what a wonderful blessing that it is. So because of that, and because of seeing, we're reading ancient texts that are telling us that it was always this way. I wish I'd have read that one line where it was explained that human light existed before all of the chaos that exists on the earth. That's my mind is still fried from that. But how wonderful it is that we find out that there has been a plan and a purpose, and all of the struggling and suffering actually has a positive means to it. So the song we're going to do for you is I Ain't Gonna Give Up on Love, because God is love and God is me, and I love because he loves. I ain't gonna give up on love.
long ago. What about the fight? Cheating and lying. What about the price? That will surely be paid. The Father said his words will never change. Ain't gonna give up on the Father. Ain't gonna give up on the Father. No matter what you say or do. I ain't gonna give up on the Father. No matter what you do or say. The Father said his word sets us free.
Hallelujah. I ain't going to give up on love. Love is what it's all about, friends. That has to be the motivating factor behind everything that we do. It's really funny how that is in the spirit realm, in the spirit world. You probably hear more about love around spiritualists than you certainly do around Christians. It is absolutely the imperative. Everything Source did out of a place of love. And that's kind of strange because, as I said, in Christianity we were taught that God did a whole lot of things, but not all of those things were out of love. Sometimes he got kind of a little bit of jolly by destroying broken humans, and it's kind of hard to see much love in that, you know. I was pondering this with myself. I said, so now let me get this picture right, okay? I'm a fallible human put in a fallible earth, and I'm supposed to be perfect, and if I'm not, God's going to kill me. That's kind of the synopsis of it. You have to admit, not many people want to sign up for that. So we really are blessed. And so the next song we're going to do is, because there are many things that you haven't ever heard, so the song is certainly valid. The name of the song is Have You Heard? Have you ever, I'm sorry.
isn't just a test I'm going through. Well, am I reaping what I've sown? Well, am I reaping what I've sown? Have you ever struggled? Struggled in your mind. Thought, I'm okay. And have you ever seen people's flaws, but not looking in the mirror? Is that true? Have you ever looked in the shadows and not shine your light? And have you ever pondered what source requires of you? Yes, you. Justly and in mercy, open your heart, let it Have you ever closed your eyes and just give thanks? Have you ever called out to your higher self? Have you ever listened to his words of correction? Have you ever questioned? Was that just a coincidence or synchronicity? Tell me if you can. When your train leaves the station,
Say it again. Yes, 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 Lord. Oh, hold on, I gotta light the fire. Keep on burning. Keep on burning. Burning the rope now. Yeah, that's all I can get All right. Happy, happy, joy, joy. What a wonderful time. I'm so thankful that we get the opportunity to be free and to learn truth, and we don't have to be tied down by doctrines and dogmas. And not that all doctrine is bad, because it's not, but bad doctrine is bad. So, well, I wanted to share a little bit. There's so much going on, and there's so many pieces. I think we need to see the historical, but I do think sometimes we have to look at and deal with the practical. And you know, how do you take any of this? Maybe some of you are struggling with, how do you take any of these pieces and make sense of them, and then put them into your life in a way that begins to help you? And I fully realize that really, inevitably, that journey is your journey. It's up to you to figure that out. But I do also know on the other side, as I said earlier, that there are pieces of all of this that we certainly can learn now. Once the wisdom is brought to us, if we choose to do nothing with it, then that's on us. But not everybody that wisdom is brought to will see it, but not everybody won't see it. There will be people who will see it and put it in their life, and it will better their life. It will benefit their life while they're on this journey. So there's a lot of things that I feel like are, maybe for some of you, are really still corrupt, and the pictures, as Paul said, the glass is covered with smoke so that you can't see clearly. And I certainly don't know that I have enough glass cleaner to clean everybody's glass, but I do think that if we work in a concerted effort, we can certainly sow good seeds. And so what I want to do, there's a couple of different principles going on. One of them, inevitably, before we're over with, which means when I leave this body, that I'll quit talking about, and that is frequency. It's becoming infinitely more powerful, more present. Nothing else really is important. It's really funny what I've seen, how much of things that are called. I understand why people like Dolores Cannon and Helena Blavatsky were really not at all friends of spiritualists. I see a lot of things that, and yet they both manifested the power that the Bible talks about. I've been on this journey since God, I didn't understand it all, but myself began awakening 30 plus years ago. And I think that anybody who thinks that they're going to somehow live a horrible life and then awaken in 5 minutes because they watch 5 YouTube things is pretty naive. This is a lifetime journey. And the problem is that people believe that it only starts when they recognize it. And the truth is that awakening starts the day that you cry. The only decision that is to be made is how long does it take? How much struggle do you take? How good of a student are you? How much do you care? All of those things are going to affect everything that happens while you walk the face of this earth in this incarnation. And I do know that that hasn't always been clear to me, but it's dang sure becoming more clear than I ever had a clue of, that we've always been on this journey. It's not new. We've always been on it. Do I say that everyone? No, I can't necessarily say that, but all of those who will be have been. And so we have some really fundamental concepts that I think are kind of clear, and I want to work on one of them, and then I want to give a little wisdom that maybe you can use through the rest of your incarnation, whatever that may be. But inevitably they'll all end up with our actions. And so in the book of Exodus, many of you know that we've studied lots of Bible. It won't surprise me in time if I don't go back to teaching totally out of the Bible and get rid of all the rest of this stuff. To be quite honest with you, a window has been opened, a portal has been opened, and it's becoming easier to see. Now, as it was before, you have to look through all the rewrites and overwrites, and if you desire to, you can. And so I want to focus just for a few minutes here. It's not going to be a long time, but it's going to be a few minutes here about some principles that have existed for a long time that we were certainly not aware of, and I suspect not many are, at least in religious worlds. So it comes down to this little concept, and why is it important? Because it's something that Yahusha did often. When you see things that happen numerically, I shared with you, I know that we've been lost in that zone where we're basically ignorant and unlearned about mathematics and the creation of the universe and how all of that works together. We're one of the only people that are. The Hebrews know this stuff. They're like 10,000 years in front of us. And most people really don't give a crap even now. But there's someone that does, and that's the person I'm interested in. And so in the book of Exodus chapter 3, we have a little thing that goes on, and I think there's a lot that can be gleaned that might help some of you on your journey. And so Exodus 3, chapter 3, verse 11, we come to a situation, and there's a phrase here that gets used, and it's very significant, and it's actually very significant to us in this day. We weren't taught this, so I guess what I'm trying to do is go back and teach what Christianity didn't teach you about spirituality. I think that's a valuable thing. And so in verse 11 of chapter 3 in the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus, it reads like this. And Moshe said unto Elohim, I love this statement, because really, until you come to this place, you're just wandering in humanity. But he comes to a specific place, and if you can allow yourself to understand that this is metaphysical or mystical, not religious, and that for some of you that might be really hard because you've been in religion for so long, but inevitably you have to do that. You have to. Whether you do or not is your business, but if you want to be successful and see truth, you have to. And so verse 11, it says this. It says, and Moshe said unto Elohim, okay, who am I? Wow. Who am I? Have you ever asked that question? Who am I? Well, most of you probably haven't, and that's really to your detriment. It's a very destructive thing that you haven't done that for yourself. Who am I? You know, all of psychology, I could name off 20 of the top psychologists in the last 200 years, and all of them bring you to a place where the first step towards revelation is the question. And the question that has to be asked is, who am I? It's like me and my grandson were talking about, the Bible says that you have to love your neighbor like you love yourself. And I've shown you, and I don't know how many have taken it very seriously, but I've shown you over and over again that the first part of that whole question, you can't even get started until you ask the right question. And that question is, first, is, do I even really love myself? Most people don't even know what that means. What does it mean to love yourself? Does it mean that you make yourself, you justify yourself? Because I promise you, friend, you justifying yourself and staying in your bad behavior does not constitute love. In fact, actually, if the truth were known, it constitutes hate. I know that some of you may not understand that, but it is the truth nonetheless. And so Moshe says unto Elohim, who am I? Why did Moses ask that? Do you think he asked that because he knew who he was? Do you think you need to ask that because you've got it all figured out and you already know who you are? Because to be quite honest with you, if you get into psychology, psychology is all about being honest with yourself for the first time in your life. And there's people sitting that are listening to me and don't know a thing about what I'm talking about. What does it mean to know who you are? We have a world right now where the mass majority of people will never encounter their genuine self. They'll never encounter it because they are constantly full of the world's noise. They can't hear. I watch it all the time. I said it earlier, and it is dang sure true. I am moving towards a place of silence. And I will arrive there. Silence. It's only in the silence that we can truly find who we are. I know people that can't spend 5 minutes alone. If the room quiets down, they got to pick something up and start making noise. That's starting to really, 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 really not resonate with me at all. Because you can't be in silence without being with yourself. There's a reason why Paul spent 3 years on top of the same mountain that Elijah spent the time when he was running. Did God come and speak to Elijah on the mountain in a loud booming voice? Or is that the first example where we find of a true spirit person standing in a still small voice? Do you know that still small voice is the God that is in you? All of this, the Bible has always been about all of these things. And those people always turned and separated themselves from everything that blocked out him, which is us. And so Moses says, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh and that I should bring forth the children of Yisrael out of Mitzrayim? Well, I'd like for you to grab an understanding here. We have a picture of what all of this means, but I just shared with you all a while ago about the one who could see. Israel, the definition of Israel is the one who can see. And so this is really what is being said here. Moses said, God, who am I, who is a human, that I would bring these people that can see you in themselves? Who am I to bring them? It's a totally different picture. Why did all the people why did they die in the desert? They died in the desert because they never saw in the first place. They weren't part of Israel. True spirit Israel. And so he says that I should go unto Pharaoh and that I should bring forth the children of Yisrael. And he said, certainly I will be with you. And this shall be a sign unto you that I have sent you. Who was it a sign to? It was a sign to Moses. Wasn't assigned to anybody else. See, right now, up until this point, everything is a personal one. This is all going on inside of Moses. Do you notice that? There's no other characters. He's not speaking to anybody. This would be what you would call the truest form of talking, conversing with God or higher self. All of this has gone on in Moses' mind. And of course, if you don't understand anything about the metaphysical world and you don't meditate and you don't do those things, you wouldn't have any reason to believe that that's what's going on here, but it is. And so he says, who am I that I should do this? And he said, certainly I will be with you. And this shall be a sign unto you that I have sent you. When you have brought forth at the people out of Mitzrayim, you shall serve Elohim upon this mountain. And Moses said unto Elohim, behold, when I come unto the children of the ones who can see, and shall say unto them, the Elohai of your fathers has sent me unto you. Well, you got a picture here that there's really a good chance for this to be trampled on pretty hard, because you just got to find out earlier where the Elohai come into the picture. So unfortunately, the hardest part is that you get maybe 3 or 4 words that actually have spiritual significance, and you get a whole lot of rewrite. And so, and Moshe said unto Elohim, behold, when I come unto the children of Yisrael, and I say unto them that Elohim of your fathers have sent me unto you, they shall say to me, what is his name? And what shall I say unto them? And Elohim said unto El Moshe, Eyah Asher Eyah. And he said, thus shall you say unto the children of Yisrael, Yah has sent me unto you. And Elohim said moreover unto El Moshe, thus shall you say unto the children of Yisrael, Yahweh Elohai of your fathers, the Elohai of Avram, the Elohai of Yitzhak, the Elohai of Yaakov have sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my mention in all the generations. And that goes on, and you get totally lost. I had to make myself stay in the present moment, even just reading that, because my mind went right back to where I've been my whole life. And so mind discipline is everything. Meditation is mind discipline. And so we have Moses then. Now, if we shift and we go over here to another one, and we take this principle that I just shared with you, and we go over here and we put his words, we can much easier understand what Moses is going through. Moses is on a mountain, friends. Moses isn't on a mountain with a lot of people. In fact, he's back in the wilderness 40 miles with some sheep by himself. That's the first thing that you got to get set, because it sets the stage for where he was at. Where did Elijah go? Elijah went to the place of quiet. Where did Moses go? He went to the place of quiet. Where did Yeshua go? He went to the place of quiet. It is a true statement. You will never find God in the noise. He doesn't exist there. You want a relationship with the Creator that is you will do it in silence. That's one of the next books I want to read of Helena's. This principle is as ancient as it exists, friends. Monks don't go to monasteries and sit in quiet with only vibrations shaking, which has to do with frequency, just because that's a fun thing to do, is to go sit on a mat for 8 hours. They go there because there's something that manifests in that environment. And since we're in the process of learning very quickly for some that everything is frequency, Dolores says that the people who are functioning in a higher frequency will not have to do a thing They will simply continue to be. And those who are not functioning at a higher frequency will be separated away from them. Now, I don't know that it's true, but I'm pretty sure that Marianne was very, very, very intuitive when she said to me recently, she said, well, do you think that it's possible that the splitting of the earths could be put into the context of the book of Revelation? Because we keep reading. Some of you who've been with me, we've been through the book of Revelation several times. And so in the book of Revelation, there's a thing that goes on that Christianity has no answers for. And the thing that goes on is these enlightened people, these God people, seem to be in one place, and all around them there are other humans. But guess what? Those humans cannot be where these humans are. That is the separation. It's real. It's serious as heck, and it's going to happen to you, one or the other. Choice is yours. You will stay in that dense frequency, going over karmic events over and over and over again. There are those who believe that at some point you will actually free yourself. I hope that that's true. That certainly is my hope. I hope that inevitably we all become to the place of being at that frequency level, but whether it does or doesn't is not going to deter what I have a desire to do. So we have Moses asking, who am I? And we have this. So will you please grab this? A Yah, a share, a Yah to an English speaker does nothing. But it does when you change that, and this is how the dialogue. Moses is sitting in meditation, and Moses asks God, he says, God, who am I? He's asking this while he's in trance. And God doesn't answer him, but then he says, well, you're going to go and I'm going to give you a sign. And then Moses asks, well, who are you? And he says, I am. Do you understand? He just answered Moses' question. Who you are is I am. That may not mean anything to you, but it just friggin' blew the top of my head off. I am. You are. I am. You say, well, that sounds like you had to cut a lot of Bible out to come to that answer. No, I really didn't, to be quite honest with you. I just had to explain what many people wouldn't understand. It's not for me. I'm not doing this for me. I didn't even need to come here today for me. None of this is about me. But listen at what one who was before there was. Listen to what he says. He says, I am. And Christianity has taken that and wrongly said, because he said I am, he's God. And they would be right if they understood that we are all I am. Already. And so, because of the noise, we never get the opportunity to hear him. Many of you who have never heard a word ever haven't been able to hear it because of the noise that you have in your life. Whether it be your cell phone, whether it be the television, whether it be life, whether it be your job, really doesn't make any difference. All of those things are blocking out the silence. As I go along, I promise you I will prove this 10,000 times. So that little 5 minutes in the morning when you wake up that you go, no, I'm not going to pick my phone up. I'm going to put it down and I'm going to close my mind and I'm going to open myself up. Really doesn't take as much time as people seem to think that it does. To reach inside of oneself and quiet oneself and converse with I am. You say, well, I don't know that I really believe that. No. How many times have you have you created destruction for yourself in total ignorance? More than you can count. You say, well, how's that there, fella? How many of you have ever said, I am sick? Any of you? How many other questions do you answer consistently? When you begin to learn that the universe plays off of you, the universe only has one purpose with us, and that is to fulfill that which we believe. Okay? It's why Yahusha said that whatever thing you say, if you believe it. Now, I've fought with some major scholars in my denomination about this is saying more than you people have any understanding. So when I say to you that you will get nothing from God until you believe that you have it before you ask for it, that's actually the truth. So when Yahusha went to someone and that someone had a sick, inside of Yahusha, he had feelings. That's why it constantly says of him, oh really? It constantly says, he never did a single healing. I taught this 30 years ago. He never did a single healing without it saying or showing you that he had a feeling of compassion for that person and he healed them. I'm giving you guys millions of dollars of wisdom. And most will walk right by it and never accomplish a thing in their life. And it's sad. But this has to come from inside of you. There's way too much scientific proof that we have the power to manipulate reality. Way too much. And so, as I begin to look at this, I asked myself about Moses. Well, where was Moses at? And was it like Moses was standing and there was a God standing there and Moses was talking to him and he said, hey God, who am I? And well, my mind said, well, that's probably not how it worked. When in reality, he was up on a mountain totally quiet. And then as soon as I got that answer, I knew exactly what was going on here. Moses was in meditation. He was inside, he was in turmoil, I'm suspecting, inside of himself. Speaking with his higher self, if you would. And he says, who am I? He said that because he didn't know. Not because he knew. And so, for each and every one of us, the beauty and the amazement is that we get an opportunity to take these things. And so most of you may or may not agree, I don't really know. When I tell you that every time you open your mouth and you invoke the I am, whatever you invoke that with has power. And when you speak those things, you are the universe will mirror what you are I aming, and that's what you will receive. And so when you say I am broke, you are reaffirming, and that's exactly what you get. Well, that's the most simplistic form. This teaching gets years deep. But I know one thing that you can immediately begin to do pragmatically. You can immediately begin to watch and be conscious of what you say and never invoke I am except in a positive mode. If you would like for your life to change, you must change. That's one of the biggest things. I meet people, they go, oh, well, I don't do change very well. And it's like, well, good. I hope you enjoy how things stay then. I mean, there's only so much you can do for somebody. If somebody is destined to not believe you, there's no way I'm going to make you believe me. Those of you sitting there going, he's so full of crap, There's nothing I can do to make you believe me. If I healed 3,000 people, you wouldn't believe me. Because you don't believe. But it is so funny in my knowledge of the Bible how the belief always precedes the supernatural. And then I began to study psychology, and psychology says the exact same words that Yahusha taught. It's almost like these college psychologists studied Jesus' life. And most didn't, I'm quite sure, but the principle is the same. That you get back from the universe is a mirror of what you are. If you're in poverty because you believe you're in poverty. And there's nothing in the world that will ever change that. If they give you $10 million, you will blow it all and sit homeless 10 years from now. That's been proven over and over again. 99% of the people who win a lotto are broke again before they die. Why? Because their mirror didn't change. Giving somebody money doesn't give them a change of heart. And so, for us who are maybe truth seekers, light workers, maybe those that desire to know what it really is like to walk with the gods, because you are one of them. I know some of those things may seem, I don't know, hell, they might be sacrilegious to somebody. I don't know, and am not all that worried about it. I know what the truth is. And the truth is that we are capable of changing our reality. It's changing right now. I assure you it already is. When he said to me last week that people are coming already, I had a choice. I either believe that and walk accordingly and continue to teach the truth, or I sell all of this shit and go out into oblivion and never see anybody. It's my decision. There's two timelines. I can jump dimensions right here, blow this thing off, burn those computers, and never speak another word to another human the rest of my life. And it's okay for me to walk that path if I choose to. My decision. This is my reality. And so when you begin to recognize that, it really puts you in a bad place, because now you become offensive to people because of the confidence that you have in who you are. I'm not concerned anymore. You know what? I was put here, and I am wonderful and amazing in his eyes. Those eyes, in his eyes. And everything's going to work just exactly like it needs to work. And so, for each and every one of you today, it doesn't matter whether you're young. I'm so glad that my grandson is here, even though sometimes it's a bit much for him. He grabs pieces. And we talk, and he tells me, and I hear coming out of the inside of him, out of his spirit, I hear truth coming out of him that took me 60 years to get to a place to hear. And I'm successful no matter what happens. I love it personally. It's wonderful. It's amazing. For some of you, I talk to you, man, you got peace like a river flows. You never had that in your whole life. You're not scared. Friends, we have no idea what this whole thing's really about. This isn't about destroying us. In fact, it's an act. It has to be an act of your own will for you to be destroyed. How wonderful is that? I mean, I know probably some of you get offended if I say, well, if you don't like your life, it's your fault. That's not being mean. If you don't like your life, it's your fault. You have the power to change that life to be the life that you want. And I'm not talking about all the people out there that are trying to sell spiritual richness. Okay? There's a lot of it. It's all about manifesting money. And I thought, man, this sounds just like them Christian preachers. Right? If you'll just give me all your stuff, then you'll be blessed. They don't care whether you are or not because they get to buy another airplane. Right? They're blessed even if you ain't. That ain't what this is about. The higher consciousness that's coming on this earth, and it's going to come whether you believe me or don't believe me, and that's your business. But the higher consciousness that's coming on this earth is about to blow up, and people are going to begin to manifest in ways you've never seen. You're going to see healings, I believe, not that far. You're going to see healings because there's going to be two people functioning. There's going to be a person that believes before they're healed, and there's going to be a person that joins with them. And when two people that believe, do any of you remember a little comment? Maybe some of you old-time Pentecostal Christians might remember this principle. Where two or three are joined in my name. That's a collective soul picture. That's all it is. And if we can get two or three, or if we can get 20,000 or 30,000, you will change the direction of the whole earth. And so, I don't desire to bore anybody, but that is where we're headed. And I'm probably at the forefront, as I've always have been, of what I'm speaking. You will hear other people speaking this message 5 years from now with full conviction. But I'm telling you here today that God is calling some people to come up higher. And it ain't got nothing to do with what you think it does. We were put here to be servants. We were put here to love in the purest sense of love, the real sense of love. The only question is will we? And so, the I am that Moses was looking for was in him. The I am that you're looking for is in you already. Sitting around, tapping a toe, waiting for you to finally come to the conscious understanding that you can continue to believe the lie as long as you desire to, that you are human and the spirit world is secondary. But I hate to inform you today, friend, humanity is on the bottom rung of spirituality. If you're not a spirit, I feel sorry for you. Helena Blavatsky talked about the people who had no soul. Dolores Cannon talked about the people that have no soul. Edgar Casey talked about the people that have no soul. God, there's so many of them. And they all say the same thing. There are people walking on this earth that my words could never help. They have no soul. They will never have the ability to find true love inside of themselves. They'll always be self-centered. They'll live horribly, ugly, lonely lives, and they're living them now, and they will just continue to do so. They will not have the power to transcend. But for everybody else, friends, the power you need is already in you. It's already in you. The only thing that's stopping it is your mind. And so, I don't know about you. I call that the gospel. I call that the good news. That it's just been real crazy. All the things that he's been speaking and showing and directing and synchronicities going on every day. Yeah, it's quite crazy. For some reason, I'm sorry, the serpent is coming up. There's going to be a portal, a strength portal. I remarked about the serpent in there because we don't understand. We have a picture of the snake is bad, but the serpent portal that's coming is going to be quite of a shock. It's going to be a really powerful thing that goes on with spiritual people. And so you'll be able to see that happen here. There'll be a glitch and a glom, and very shortly in front of us, and all of a sudden you'll see people enlightening. Because this is real. This is the truth. That we are capable of everything that Yeshua told us we were capable of. The only question is, will you? So with that, I'm gonna stop today. We have an opportunity though, and I hope that you'll take it. I hope that you will spend 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes twice a day. Lay down at night, okay? If you did these simple 3 things I'm going to say, I promise you within months you will watch your life change. It's not going to make you a millionaire and you have everything you dreamed of, but that's the wrong heart if that's what you're looking for anyway. But I guarantee you, if you'll get up in the morning and be thankful, and if you'll close your eyes and sit in silence on your bed, or however you do that, doesn't matter if you go to a chair or whatever. I like to do it on the bed. But if you will simply quiet your mind and listen, you might be surprised what comes out of inside of you. And at first, when it happens, if you're not used to this, you'll be really shocked, and you'll go like, well, that was just my mind. So, and then if you'll guard yourself with these I am statements, because if you are sick, then you are sick. If you are desperate, you are desperate. And unfortunately, because we've been ignorant to it, the universe doesn't move to desperation. In fact, alignment with the universe is the only thing that brings manifestation. When there is dissonance in you, for some of you, you are functioning. I've had an issue that Source revealed to me. I took it out, and within days, I saw a change in several things. I also saw a change in the amount of energy and truth that could flow in me from above. One thing, it's called dissonance. You may not even know what the word means. Dissonance is anything inside of you that causes conflict. If you have dissonance in you, you walk by something and your mind says steal it, and your higher self says don't steal it, that's dissonance. The only way to fix that is to get rid of the dissonance. The only way to get rid of the dissonance is to get rid of those thoughts that cause dissonance. You can do that. It's active. You can do it every day, all day long. And so then that brings to the peace, which is the final peace. And that has to do with the sacredness of our frequency. Do you understand how many times we let the people around us trample all over the sacredness of our frequency because we're ignorant that everything is frequency? The ancient masters knew this, friends. This has been known for 10, 20,000 years. And so it's up to you to first off see the sacredness of your frequency, and then it's up to you to protect that. And so if you'll take those things and just begin to think about them, I promise you, the light will begin to speak in your mind. What I've shared with you is good doctrine. Whether you understand it or not doesn't change the reality of it. And so peace to each and every one of you. I hope you have an amazing week. I hope your vibration stays high. I hope your frequency, it runs through the top. I hope if you don't know what it feels like for your crown chakra to open, I hope you learn and then you begin to practice that. You know, I can tell you it'll make a day different when your crown chakra opens 10 or 15 times in a day. It makes a lot of difference. So maybe even those things are foreign to some of you. If so, I apologize. I'm not trying to make somebody feel bad because they don't understand this. It's a journey, and if you begin today, wonderful. If you've been doing this for a long time and you haven't had any success, it's time to have some success. It's time to begin to understand that there's more going on in this world than what your carnal mind can deal with. It's funny, the Bible tells us that. It says the things of the Spirit, a carnal mind cannot understand it. If you're trying to make common sense out of what I just said, you wasted your time. Have has to come from your spirit. You have to believe in your spirit. And when you do that, supernatural things begin to happen. Shalom and peace to each and every one of you. Namaste.